The rule is perfect. In all matters of opinion, our adversaries are insane. But we're not here tonight to talk about politics or lunacy, even though the two topics do seem to fit together so well. We're here tonight to return to my boyhood home of Hannibal, Missouri, in 1848. That's her there, just across the river. That big white house in the middle was mine. It was a glorious place to be a boy. And now compared to London or New York, Hannibal wasn't much of a place. But in our ignorance, we thought it was grand. Why, there were things to do, lessons to be learned. But most of all, there was mischief to get into. That's what I was best at, and after all these years, anyone will tell you that I've refined it to an art. Now, the school there was the scene of some of my best work. It was here that I personally aged one schoolmaster 35 years. And I drove him to drink. But I can take some solace in the fact, though, that he was a better man for it. In his later years, he dried out and became a big mucky-muck in the temperance movement. He never would have risen so high if I hadn't steered him toward the bottle. It was kind of a shame he dried out, too. He was so good at it. Well, now, every town had a drunk, but we had an educated one. He went home drunk one night and explained it to his wife. She said, "John, when you've had all the whiskey you want, why don't you ask for sarsaparilla?" And he said, "Yes, when I've had all the whiskey I want, I can't say sarsaparilla." Now, school there was more than just a place of learning in a little bird like Hannibal. It also was used as our church building on Sunday afternoons. The law in Hannibal, wild river town that it was a curious phenomenon. It was here that I first learned the importance of tempering justice with forgiveness. Why, when I was a boy and my father a judge, I saw it work 1,000 times. I'll never forget the night they caught Bob Conroy stealing one of Doc Grant's horses. He stood there trembling and shaking with a tear in his eye, pleading for forgiveness from Doc Grant. It was one of the most touching moments I'd ever seen when old Doc forgave him. They hanged him, of course, but he had been forgiven. You don't mind if I smoke, do you? I'll have you know that using tobacco is not a habit with me. I often go a period of time without its comforts. For instance, I make it a rule never to smoke while I'm asleep. My wife always appreciated that. But I suppose the only thing I ever had which approached being a true habit was wearing these white suits. I like white. It sets me apart from the others. People always recognize me in these suits. Why, there are thousands of good-looking men who might be mistaken for me, but none of them wear white suits. Now, I've traveled around a good deal, and I've mixed with royalty and savages and common, ordinary people. But there's one thing that struck me wherever I went. Clothes make the man. Naked people have little or no influence in society. But again, I'm straying from the subject at hand. I've always wanted to return to the Hannibal of my youth, and here I am. I'm just glad I can take you all with me. I suppose you're here because you've read some of my books. Well, that's good. I was always afraid that 2 or 3 of them might turn out to be classics. And we all know what a classic is. A classic is a book which everybody wants to have read, but nobody wants to read. Are there any liars here tonight who want to claim to have read Milton's Paradise Lost? Now that's a classic. Well, I'm going to roll across to my Hannibal now. We'll all see some old friends, I'm sure. And you'll notice, if you're observant, that they won't be able to see or hear me. I've got to hurry, though. Allie's comet is approaching. I was born the last time she appeared, and it's only fitting that I go out with her this time around. Well, you all just sit here and enjoy yourselves, and who knows? You might just learn something.